Hello, I'm Joseph, and what you're seeing here is a single page application, a SPA app, running on an iPhone through the Safari browser. So you can see localhost 8080. This is all thanks to the iShell program, which is completely free. So this is going to be just a little bit of a quick guide slash deep dive into programming on an iPhone or even an iPad. I'm just choosing the lowest denominator because I think more people have iPhones than iPads, but an iPad will be a much better experience than what I'm about to show here. So just to give you some context, this is a SPA app. It's using React. There's some endpoints here that you can test for the React router that is being used, and it has a little inspector. You can select elements here, or you can go to the Chrome thing and type in some commands. So let's type in 1 minus 3 and execute. You get -2. So really cool there. And then we can go ahead and get rid of that. This is actually parts of the Chrome inspector, but kind of customized for a mobile experience. And all this is really, really easy to set up. I want to put some caveats to this though. Um, because this is running in a like a dual app situation, that you could run to something like this. And depending on your phone, if you don't have enough RAM on here, you may have to bounce back to your iShell, which is the other thing, the little special sauce to all this, and then it'll run just fine. So I can, type in here, refresh, do what I need, go back to my iShell. Now, another big caveat is I'm using Vim. Vim is a very steep learning curve of an editor. You don't have to use Vim. There's Nano. Nano apparently has syntax highlighting. Emacs is another option. And I did try using a third app because in iShell, what you can do is you can go to the file system and you can browse the files. And let's go to root. Where is root at? So we go to root, headless, and then you can open it like index in one of your editors. But the problem is when you have three apps that you're switching between, iShell seems to always be put to sleep, and it was never really working. So I have to like edit the code in another text editor, go back to iShell, go to the browser, hit refresh, go back to iShell, go to the browser, and then it'll work, which is way too much. If you're using an iPad, maybe this is not an issue and it'll work just fine. But in my working on a phone, it doesn't work that well. So let me go ahead and go back to iShell here, because what I want to show is that instance of it running at least. So let me just make sure the server's still running. Server's still running. So I'm going to type in vim index, and then I want to change welcome to be like a welcome and a number. So we're going to search for welcome. If I can spell it right, welcome. And we're going to go ahead and press I for inserts. Type in a number, welcome 6. Press escape. Oh wait, I don't have escape on my keyboard, so then I have to press Control left bracket to get out of this mode, and then colon right. Now I have it written. Now let me go back to my browser and go ahead and refresh this, and it works. So we have, if I go back to the home path, welcome 6. That's what I typed. So pretty simple, and for what what I'm showing here. Now I do have to bring up a couple of things here. Obviously, let me bring up my screen. You don't need to do this all on your phone in terms of like setting up a local browser type of thing. If you understand what I'm about to show and you understand that this is not technically free, you could use this. So, and this is not just like GitHub Copilot or GitHub Workspaces that I'm talking about, or Code Spaces. So GitHub Code Spaces, that's not what I wanted. Is they give you 60 free hours to work with, and you get Visual Studio Code in your browser, which is a way better setup than trying to do everything on your phone. The only reason why I'm mentioning doing it on your phone is that you don't have to pay for anything. You're not beholden and giving your app to another subsystem, because this is a containered, like runtime. This does give you the opportunity to run new versions of Node and PHP. You can, it's like a container in itself. Whereas we're working with Alpine, it's very, very limited. But the difference is this is a cloud service, and 60 hours is a lot of time per month to be able to code on your phone. So I don't think it's a big deal, but I do have to bring it up because it's not like, yeah, just do this and you're better off. No, not really, because if you get stuck, then you're kind of and you don't know how to move to another system, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and that this is the only way that you know how to code on your device. So I'm just showing you that little bit thing. The other thing I have to mention is um, the adapter. I don't think anyone actually wants to be looking at their phone and coding. So the only adapter I recommend you get is the Apple adapter, because you can go to eBay, sometimes you find it. Make sure it's the official Apple adapter and not all these third party adapters. The reason why I say that is because they have all these like different HDMI ports, like sometimes it has audio or a USB, and the latency on them are sometimes so bad that when you try to use a mouse with it, it just your brain can't comprehend the amount of latency. Like sometimes it's 2, 3, 4 seconds where you moused and finally moves across the screen when you moved it, 3, 4 seconds ago. And some of these adapters work great, but then they don't have DRM content. If you're gonna spend $30, you might as well spend a little bit extra to go ahead and get the official Apple adapter, which sometimes you can get from Amazon Warehouse for as much or even cheaper. And then what you can do is you can get YouTube, you can get Netflix, you can get Disney Plus, HBO Max, all delivered to your bigger screen that you're emitting this to. And this does then mean you do have to have a Bluetooth keyboard, a Bluetooth mouse, Bluetooth speaker, headset, but again, it's worth going this route than anything else. And in fact, I want to show you a little bit of a weird thing I ran into when using the Apple adapter over everything else. Let me show back my phone here real quick. There's a text editor I tried to use, and a lot of people were raving about it. I tried to open it, and I want you to understand this little tidbit here. This is a 1080p full screen experience of what you would see if you had a second screen on your iPad. This is not my phone I'm looking at right now. My phone shows a completely different screen than what you're seeing. And so if I go back home, I don't understand. I can't even interact with what you're looking at. There's no way for my mouse to get to the second screen. This phone apparently can do a second screen. Never knew that, but I just can't interact with it. It'd be cool if I could. If anyone knows, please tell me, because it'd be nice to be able to use something like this. But yeah, you kind of get the idea, and would be nice to interact with it. Just can't really. Okay, so gonna see that point there. Let's talk about how do we get this started. If you are using a mouse, first let me just talk about the mouse situation, because this will probably be something like, hey, I've connected a Bluetooth mouse and not doing anything. Um, in settings, yeah, in settings, we can just go to settings, go to the search bar here, type in mouse, and there is the mouse keys. Go to assistive touch, make sure it's turned on. Usually it's just turned off by default. When it's turned off or turned on, you get this like little weird thing. If your mouse is connected, you can actually turn this little menu off by hitting always show menu, and it'll turn off when you have a mouse plugged in. Right now I do not have it plugged in. And then one more little tip before we move on is in pointer control. Uh, Turn on color to some color, and then change the actually in the color section, change the border width to be really, really small. This way you can see where the damn mouse is at, because sometimes the can't even interact with this. Sometimes the thing is so like grayed out that you can't even see where the mouse is at. So that's it there. And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna go ahead and nuke the iShell app, because it's not that difficult to work with. And now we're gonna go to the App Store, and we're gonna search for iShell. So let me just cancel here. Let's go back to today, sure, and to search. And when ISH, press enter, it'll be the second result, because it's usually an ad for whatever. And it's a really small download, it should download pretty quick. Open it up. And now we're going to type in a couple commands. So the first one would be APK update. This way we get the latest update of packages. We do need to allow the local network. And just if you don't know what iShell is, we're gonna have to repeat this because there is an error. So you can actually type up in your keyboard, or you can just retype the command and press enter again. iShell is a Linux emulator that runs the Alpine Linux operating system. It is a 32-bit operating system, so you're going to be limited. But let's go ahead and continue. So APK upgrade. And again, if this fails, you see any errors, just repeat it one more time. But yeah, it's a 32-bit operating system. So, and it's this version that it's running of Alpine is a bit outdated. So yeah, do know that you're not going to get everything up to date. Now we're going to go ahead and do APK add, this is going to be installing Vim, Git, GCC to compile some C code, and then we need musl-dev. It's going to take some time. It's like 24 packages. It may fail as well. You may need to repeat it as well, but we're just going to go ahead and do that. But yeah, Alpine's really, really cool. It's super lightweight. It's running old versions. So you got like PHP 8, Node.js 14, Python 3.9. You can run Lua, C, C++. I tried running Golang on here, but it can't really seem to compile successfully. It gets stuck at um, the syscalls, and there's a bunch of other different languages. I tried Neo or Zig and Nim, but they don't seem to be available for this. They are working on, so you can see I had one error here, so I got to run the sim command again. They are working on a newer version of Alpine to be packaged with this, which will give us like Python, the latest version, like 3.11. Failed again. Try this one more time. Newest version of Python, PHP 8.3, Node.js 20, like a whole bunch of new updated packages will definitely be useful. You can try to manually upgrade Alpine by itself, by the way. It doesn't have to be waiting on the thing, but I didn't want to attempt it. Now, obviously, Vim is a big ask, but you can do Nano or Emacs and install Emacs Doom. It's slow, but it still works. And so now we have all that. It installed successfully. So now we do git clone, and we're going to go ahead and clone a GitHub repository. It's the one I've set up. So https:// github.com. This keyboard I'm typing on, by the way, is incredibly terrible. Joseph Martinez slash buildless get. And again, the reason why I'm doing like a buildless system is because every ounce of any memory that's available on this phone, I want to push to my Vim instance. So this way, when I want to set up a language server or have anything like linting set up, I can at least try to get it to work in Vim. The Vim is like Vim 8.2, so it's not even the newest one. Anyways, let's go ahead and go to buildless, and we're going to go ahead and compile the C server. The C server is super small, and it's better than Python or Node.js, because when I ran those were like Python was like 17 megabytes, Node.js was like 100 megabytes, which was crazy. Go ahead and type in start, and then the no hub thing, just press enter to bypass it. I gotta fix that, and then we can do a PS to see, make sure server is there. So you see colon slash or back doc slash server, which now means that when we go to our Safari instance and we reload, it should work. Now we have the welcome to whatever. And this is using a pre-tag, which I probably want to change because it does get, you kind of get the idea. It works great. Now you can do your editing in Vim as you want it to. So really easy setup, really quick. Doesn't take that much effort, to be honest. You do have to learn Vim though. Vim is a very, very steep learning curve. There's all these things, like I think I had NeoVim working at one point with some stuff, but there's a big gotcha with that. There's a lot of setups for Vim. Some of them require some things that it's not supported in this emulation layer. So you're not going to be able to get all the tools that you want. I think like some tree searching thing and tree or something. I forgot what the program was. I can't get it to compile. If there's anything that requires Rust, you may not be able to get it to compile either. You might as well vary. But yeah, this is the setup. For me, it's kind of like a cool thing because I actually did this sign up video for my Kindle Fire HD 10 was like $80, and I was able to actually get Visual Studio Code Server running on it. It's just that it kept falling out of memory, so it wasn't very useful. And so this is just me as an attempt using a little memory as possible, with Vim being the priority of my editor experience. Using put the memory where Vim needs it, not where just running a stupid little local web server. And you may ask, like, why do you need to run a web server? Why can't I just load the file up into Safari? And it has to do with kind of sandbox protections. So when I go to Vim index, sorry if I typed it in right, Vim index. The top of the file, you'll see all the JavaScript that's being included. These are coming from remote things. So you got React, React DOM, Remix, the router, React router DOM, Babel or Babel to do the compilation, and Ruta for the little inspector. So when you're doing any of these remote calls, you really do need to run like a local web server, and that C application thing that I have there is doing it at the most minimal to be able to make sure it stays into memory. And when you boot up Vim, it doesn't like kick it out because it ran out of memory or something like that. So that's it. Nothing else to really say. If you have any questions on anything, please let me know. And again, if you are looking for the experience, just, and you don't want to go through all this, and you're willing to take an understanding that GitHub Codespaces, and there's a plenty of others out there. It doesn't have to be GitHub Codespaces, but you're gonna, while there could be some hours for free, you're gonna be paying it. And this doesn't even give you hosting, by the way. It's just a developer environment. Then you got to figure out how you're gonna host it. Um, but yeah, take care.